Some negative news and the market turns sour, but how sour can it get? Sourer? Is that the word? Sour? How much sourer can it get? How sour can it get? Find out in today's episode of Breaking Bitcoin. All right, welcome back to Breaking Bitcoin. This is your daily source for everything cryptocurrency, markets, and investing. My name is Justin Wise, lead analyst at KrakenCryptocurrency.com. Hopefully you guys are doing fantastic today, wherever you are and however you happen to be tuning in to today's live stream. We've got a lot to cover. Before we begin, of course, we're pretty proud to host the fastest growing online community, at least Discord server, in my opinion, in my estimation. And my calculations are pretty good. On the interwebs, to stay up to date, make sure to join the Discord server at discord.krakencryptocurrency.com. Hey, cool. I even got the scenes updated. They pressed they did the right thing when I pressed the button. Got the Elgato Stream Deck in today, so hopefully that will ease the things. I'll have like a nice little keyboard here. I just press the buttons and things happen. It's like magic. All right. Good to be back. Hopefully you guys are doing well. Today is Wednesday. Premium members, don't forget we have a mentoring session at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. Updated invitations are going to be sent out right after the show. So we'll do an hour and a half show today, and then that gives me time to finish preparations and send invitations for the community mentoring section. Other than that, we're going to be taking a good look at the charts today, reviewing some of the paper trades that I put on yesterday, and we're going to overall take a look at the market. So let me know if you guys have any questions, thoughts, concerns. Put them in the live chat. We'll help you out. A little light on moderation today, so it's going to have to be me right-clicking in the chat. So if you guys have any questions, pop them in there, and we'll get right along with today's analysis. Let's go. All right, everything is working properly. It's absolutely amazing. We're going to be taking a look at a few interesting things that I wanted to talk about today. Fidelity putting out a recent report that Bitcoin has a $2 trillion market cap potential, and we'll talk about the effects of that and what that means for price. And then also, I don't know if you guys paid attention or if you guys are following the latest DeFis, but Mr. Crony, the creator of YFI, put out another token earlier, and this thing is pretty fun to watch. Experimenting with rebasing tokens. We'll take a look at it on ChartX here in just a second. But let's see here. Let me say hello to the chat. I see Moonshine Fuel, Mr. Hut QC, David Rice, Crypto Jack as always, and Cat Futures, Mr. Saintsy over in the UK, Taurus Swing Trades Pro. Good to see you, my friend. And S180 XT, Rhino TD, Furry Boffin, good to see you, my friend. And Rhino TD asking, any idea why RDR pumped? I know RSR, reserve rights. RDR, I don't know if that's a synonym or something similar, but I don't actually know the question because I'm not actually familiar with that ticker. I apologize, good sir. RSR, yeah, reserve rights, yeah. You know, funny enough, there's a video up. I don't know if we actually put it out here. I don't know if we actually put it out here on the YouTube channel. I actually got to see. But I interviewed an evangelist for RSR all the way back in November of last year. I swear to God, if we would have just bought every token that we saw at San Francisco Blockchain Week 2019, man, would have been a good bag to hold during this alt season. Anyways, let's hop right into it. I want to get over to Bitcoin here. Cornelio, good to see you as well. Yeah, RSR. I'm not quite sure, my friend. It's a good DeFi coin. It's got a lot of potential. Got a big community pumping it. So for all the reasons, I'm not sure of any external reasons why it would have moved up. All right, let's start off with just some brief updates here. Let me find my working notes. Here we go. So I wanted to talk about what I had posted yesterday in the premium analysis channel for our premium members, and then also what I talked about on the stream yesterday. So again, overall, my fundamental bias was remaining to the downside. My overall recommendation yesterday was to put on shorts. I did take that intraday long. We'll look at that here in just a second because now we have the paper trading function here on TradingView, which is pretty fun. I didn't want to rule out market irrationality, though, particularly in the 2 weeks leading up to the election. So if there is a kind of a market-wide push to the upside, that can be a thing. It can be irrational. The market can remain more irrational longer than you can remain solvent, as the old saying goes. So I didn't want to rule that out, and that's why I continually was talking about, well, if this happens, then we'll consider picking up longs, right? If this, then that. You have to know where your invalidation levels are. Obviously, that didn't happen. Putting on the short yesterday seems so far right now to have been the profitable move and the strategic move. Congratulations to individuals that did that. But that does give us a 2-week window, right? So fundamentally here, or theoretically, in which the market can be pushed higher or just continue to be more irrational. As I've said before, this entire area of the market is more difficult than most trades. So generally, you want to be approaching this with low risk because most of you may not have strategies that are conducive to this particular area of the market. And the way to know that for sure is your strategy conducive to this area of the market is simply to look at your trading journal. Are the trades that you've put on for the last month or 2 weeks or 6 weeks overall more profitable than not? Or do you have a string of losers? Remember, when you have a large string of losers, one of the best things to do is actually step back, relax, and see if your strategy is not working well in this area. If you need to turn it off, you need to adopt a different strategy. So, yeah, and as far as taking action on that, though, as far as the market remaining irrational, I didn't recommend any action yesterday. I didn't think it was didn't think it was warranted yesterday, and I'm glad that we didn't. So I didn't think any immediate action was justified or warranted. The daily is the most helpful chart here, I said, for planning a solid Bitcoin strategy in the current climate. Now, we currently have the weekly pulled up again. Not too much here to say, except for the price pulled back to the 21 weekly exponential moving average and then pushed up. Currently, we are experiencing a weekly doji, but we still got half the week for this to close. So still overall indicative of consolidation. The two things that can play out here are, of course, a lower high. We get something like a swing failure pattern. If price does reject here overall from the previous consolidation area and then take out the previous low around 9,800, 9,900, to be quite honest with you. That would be the confirmation of something like a swing failure pattern where we fail to make a second high or we fail to make a higher high after presumably being in an uptrend, where an uptrend is characterized by higher highs and higher lows. And then we shift obviously into an area of consolidation where we're experiencing mixed lower highs or lower lows or higher lows. You see that in consolidation where price puts in a mix of these, or you have a clear downtrend where price is putting in clear lower highs and lower lows. That's the most basic way to define uptrends or downtrends based on market structure. So we don't have that yet. So we just have our first low that we formed on this weekly time frame, and currently what appears to be potentially a lower high. That's certainly the setup that I would play and look for. Otherwise, you're looking for breakout and continuation, and the best way to play those is to actually buy at the 21 EMA or buy on the pullback as low as you can. A more strategic price going down to a lower time frame and looking for oversold conditions potentially is an easy way to do that. Talked about how to do that with the daily here. Overall, not too much I wanted to point out here. Let's throw Ichimoku on to give you guys an update on that. Right back up to the top of the cloud after bouncing off the Tinkin here. So again, an area that can act as resistance, and you'd want to see a cloud break, which ironically enough is also the territories here with these red lines, about 11,600 to about 11,300. So about a $300 range that we'd want to see the weekly closing above the Tinkin cloud. That would be a Kumo breakout. You guys could play that. And I document how to do that and discuss how to do that particular trade setup in the Ichimoku video here on the YouTube channel. And again, just pointing out that the future cloud is twisting upwards. This is a weekly time frame, so it does take a while for it to catch up, but still pretty indicative of future trends. All right. The daily, though, was the most interesting chart and the one I kept wanting to point out yesterday, because where were we? We were coming right back up into that resistance area. And if we throw on, kind of the I frame here, which is our reversal indicators, we had just completed a perfected 9 with TD sequential. And actually, if today's candle closes the way that it's going to do, we are going to be getting an ISA spot and time transformation and Minx sell signal, indicating that we're in overbought territory and momentum has shifted to the downside. All right. It's not a foolproof signal, but it's a pretty darn good signal. However, I will say that historically, buy signals when prices oversold on Bitcoin are extremely, extremely successful. And sell signals when price is overbought, about a mixed bag. But again, better signal than anything else when you have some objective form of signal. Just pointing out here on the daily, again, as proof of what I just said, here's bottom feeder, which we could consider ISA spot in reverse. And it's picking up simply every good buying opportunity here on these lows right here. And finally, this last push to the upside, which is, Alex and I call it like the weird signal. I know exactly what it is. It's because of the different moving average algorithms that were programmed into this indicator. And this one particular signal condition only fires generally when price is just beginning an uptrend. It's really cool to see when it happens because it just makes it a more dynamic and robust indicator. All right. But yeah, certainly not conditions where I would want to long. We were overbought on, as I said, all of our popular momentum oscillators. Not the best place to look for longs. Because again, if we were to play along here, we'd be essentially looking for a breakout long, neither of which conditions have been met yet. We haven't really broken out of anything, nor have we had a breakout or pullback. So even if price were to push up yesterday, it was still a poor technical entry to look for a long. Taking bets are fine if you're, kind of a cowboy trader, but, in this area, it was absolutely a good idea to wait for a pullback to play out here and buy into strength if that's what we want to see. So if I wanted to long this, what I would be looking for is a price pullback here and then to buy into green strength on the way up. And then the public PTP system that we've been showcasing, this would be forgiving here as well, because we did actually get a long signal over here on the 11th of October with everything firing to the upside here. Price did move up, and you now have basically a better, more optimum price in which to play this. So if you wanted to play this particular PTP swing long signal, or if you wanted to play the breakout long of your own volition, then certainly coming up on today or maybe the next 2 days would be a more optimum price to buy it, because price is simply not as high as it was 2 days ago. Bitcoin dominance I wanted to talk about as well, because I was pretty reticent to suggest longing altcoins yesterday. But Bitcoin dominance, especially if we look at it on the weekly here, and we'll open this, excuse me. I did think Bitcoin dominance was far more primed here to move up than move down. As you guys can see, we've kind of settled right here, right on this TDST line from TD sequential. Also, we didn't do a perfected count to the downside, but we did a 9, which means we should be set up for a 13, which I don't actually think came. This is the aggressive, but we didn't actually get the full 13 count to the downside, which would be cool to see. But just theoretically, if we did, that would be 9, 10, 11, 12, and then the next weekly candle would be the 13, which would be the reversal signal to the upside. If you guys have watched my TD sequential video here on YouTube. But other than that, just oversold here on ISIS spot, as well as Minx and time transformation on the weekly time frame. CM Laguerre is indicating that we're bottomed out. So if I had to take a bet on which way Bitcoin dominance was going to move, I would certainly expect it to move up rather than down, moving forward. Not indicating any immediate sign of strength, like this thing's going to blow up right now. More like it's certainly in an area where one would want to be accumulating a position on Bitcoin dominance to the upside. Since we can't do that, what does this mean for trading? This generally indicates to me that altcoins are not going to see the surge of strength. And if they do pop while dominance is consolidating, they're only popping in what I would call like exit scam scenarios, where there's not actually a ton of market capitalization flowing into altcoins. What you're seeing is money bouncing back and forth between different altcoins as individuals attempt to pump their bags and get out of the market before Bitcoin dominance actually puts in a sign of strength here, pushes up, and Bitcoin overtakes altcoins. And you see market capitalization actually fled out of altcoins and back into Bitcoin stablecoins and things like, I would normally say Ethereum, but now it's so complicated with the liquidity locked up in Ethereum and Ethereum moving to 2.0. So we have that whole aspect of circulating supply to take into account, and the increase in circulating supply. I believe it's about 0.33% once we move over to Ethereum 2.0. Just a lot of interesting things, especially because of DeFi and liquidity being locked up, that whole phenomenon. So generally, I would expect to see kind of that metric change maybe a little bit, but not too much, right? Not too much. All right, take a brief break here. Check out the chat. Jonah, love the snow. Good to see you, my friend. Jordan Stotts. Alex over there on Twitch. Good to see you. Turtle No Neck over on DLive. Ron Legato. Kimo Zabi says, am I familiar with the Arun indicator? I am familiar with the Arun indicator. It's pretty good. I don't use it actually in any systems. There are some cats that like using it on Forex, and I've tried to apply it to crypto. I've talked about the Arun indicator before in a few videos of mine in the premium section. It's not one that I end up actually using that much, but it's pretty good. It's an insensitive indicator is what I'd like to say, if you have it tuned correctly. I think it works better as an insensitive indicator. When people try to use it as a sensitive indicator, as in like the actual thing that generates the signal, I think it's a little too slow as it attempts to be fast, if that makes sense, right? Like it just tends to give false signals if you use it as the initiator. If you use it as a confirmer, I find it's generally better. Crypto Caveman, good to see you, my friend. Wook Chewy, good to see you. Yorick. Show them the monthly Bitcoin dominance chart. Okay, I certainly can. I don't really have a whole lot to say here. Yeah, monthly just completed a 9 count to the downside, is kind of on the bounce back up. What's interesting about the historicity of the Bitcoin dominance chart is that, a lot has changed in trading these calculations, and as well as the data providers for this. So it's interesting. Let's just say it's an interesting chart. It's evolving and flowing just like cryptocurrency. All right. So I don't desire a lot of altcoin exposure. I think that Bitcoin pairings are more than likely to crush them, particularly moving forward, whether that happens overnight or whether that's a trend that we slowly see ramp over the next few months or weeks. I would pursue. There are going to be attractive bounce areas always for altcoins, but I would kind of step off the gas on pursuing them, and I would keep an eye to small risk when playing altcoins moving forward. Now, having said that, I wanted to look at this. Having said that, there are some altcoins here. Generally the high sats, right? So the high market capitalization altcoins that really have not experienced let's say the form and figure and the breadth of the pumping, the pumping and the dumping of DeFi, which has been kind of the latest darling here. But a lot of them do look to be in attractive areas for accumulation, particularly on the weekly. Dash here is a good example, putting in potentially a long-term double bottom here after a nice long downtrend. So again, this doesn't indicate like, oh, this thing's going to pump immediately. It just says, if I were to accumulate this for a position, this would be a good area than not to hold on to one or to begin accumulating one. So Dash trading against Bitcoin there would be one example. Let me remove the indicators here. Litecoin being another example, once bitten, twice shy. Zcash as well, Decred as well. Rep, I actually took a position on Rep yesterday to the upside. We'll see how that one ends up playing out. Monero, however, on the other hand, I did short. Those were the two signals that I posted yesterday. And actually, I wanted to check in on the paper trading. So here is yesterday, I took that intraday Bitcoin long. Let's go look at that real quick. Actually, I want to get this back to Bitcoin because that's where it should be. Weekly and the trending indicators. All right, so here we are. Here's the Bybit chart where we ended up taking this. Let's go down to the hourly. Actually did this. And here we go. So here was the trade. You guys can see this little bluer thingy. The little up arrow, that's paper trading, indicates a bot was there, a buy took place there, and then of course we hit our take profit. Again, we were only playing this back up to the consolidation area. We targeted right here, and we can see that paper trading history. Let's find that trade. Yeah, so we bought Bitcoin, we market bought at 11,376 and 0.9 BTC, and ended up getting our limit order filled at 11,482. So just a cool, fun way to stay accountable and stay on top of what we're doing. All right, let's do the other trades that we talked about yesterday as well. Here is Rep. Let's look at, here's XMR USD. Again, we ended up shorting this yesterday. Here's 10 XMR. Just all of this is kind of calculated off a $5,000 account balance, which is pretty decent for retail traders. Again, here's the rejection. Just took it on the daily off of this 8 and 9. It was the only, I had an eye towards shorting altcoins yesterday, but when I actually went to scan the market, I saw that, there was a good majority of them that weren't actually, in attractive areas where I would like to short. I didn't see good setups, good trade setups that I like to capitalize on. Monero, on the other hand, although I don't like shorting into strength when something's running to the upside, particularly with cryptocurrency, Monero was the only thing that offered me an overextended, overbought to the upside, kind of sell the news. And plus, there's not a whole lot of markets to trade Monero anyway. So liquidity is low. So again, movements can be pretty severe, I think, in Monero. The reason being is because regardless of what circulating supply says, regardless of what exchanges say about volume, so much Monero is actually locked up and utilized for monetary transfers. So the idea that in a good quantity of it too, and a good quantity of it's hodled too. So the idea that there is as much incentive, or the idea that there is more units of Monero relative to something that doesn't have a lockup purpose, for example. So something like something like Zcash or Dash or any of the other majors, Litecoin, for example. Litecoin doesn't have any lockup speciality. So those kind of things right there. That's indicative of lower liquidity than normal on Monero, thus more pronounced market movements. And then let's see, Euro Pound. We ended up taking the long position on the Euro Pound. Price has pretty much gone down since I went long, so it's okay. It's a daily trade. We'll wait for that to work out with that PTP structure. And KNC USD, which we took long just for funsies for Professor Wally. This one hasn't done amazingly well since we entered. Again, we have two different trades on here, but it amalgamated them into one, so we'll see how that ends up playing out. York, thank you so much, man. Glad to be back in the office. Brett Flowers, good to see you as well. Didn't I short XMR XBT? I did short XMR XBT. And it won't allow me, the paper trading engine won't allow me to short XMR XBT, so I had to short XMR USD. So just for display purposes. I called that on Kraken. All right, yeah, so going back to Dash here real quick, I just wanted to complete my thoughts on Dash. But I did really like Dash here. Let's go to the weekly here. All right. So we're about to complete a weekly setup. Prices returned to the area of our last pump here on Dash, as we can see. The area where price last pumped up. Did get a 100% movement out of there. ISIS, Minx, Time Transformation are all flirting with their own reversals. We can see it here. You can see that potential crossover here from ISIS spot. If we go over to our trending indicators as well, we see Parallax kind of remerging from oversold territory, which is an interesting buy signal. We've got Minx, not in oversold territory, but about to give that. Generally, this would be a closed trade. This would be an early exit if one was in a short, and this would have been the original short signal right here. So let's actually take the EMAs off of there and look at that continuation short signal on Dash Bitcoin right there. Very good. And we're about to get that closed trade out right here, which we could view as a reversal signal as well if we wanted to take Dash to the upside. So again, I don't see any immediate signs that Dash is going to push up, but again, I do like the area that it's settled back into. And, that's broadly true of pretty much all, I guess with exception, BNB, not so much. But that's pretty much true of all the major alts, right? We can see it here with Neo, one of my favorite coins. We can see it Zen here, Horizon, another good security coin. Decred as well. A lot of these are at relative lows. So yeah, they're trending to the downside. But again, if, as in the case of Dash, as in the case of Zcash, as in the case of Decred, as in the case of Rep, as in the case of Neo, it's not so much, how about a walk? Not now. I got to get that tuned in. It's like, listen, between the hours of like 12 and 2, all right, I'm not walking anywhere. This is an exercise. This is a workout. And then I know Alex is very excited about Bitcoin. And again, if I wanted to buy into strength in any coin, if I had to predict that Ethereum would outperform Bitcoin moving forward or any other assets moving forward, Ethereum would certainly be the one that tickled my fancy. And Bitcoin Cash having its kind of intraday movement yesterday, it kind of pushed to the upside and continuing that weekly so far today. All right, that's about all I have for yesterday's analysis and wrap up. Let's take a look at Ethereum USD real quick and see if it's doing anything divergent from Bitcoin or see if my opinions on that are different. I'm not trading it any different, although there is something in the back of my head that says, if you were going to long Ethereum. Now, I don't have any long exposure right now except for my spot holdings of Ethereum, which are actually larger than they've ever been, and Bitcoin. But yeah, I do have my my trading account hedged. Did I want to say anything else about Ethereum here on the weekly? Let's look at our trending indicators here real quick. Very similar to Bitcoin here, pulling back to the weekly 21 EMA and pushing up, not forming the red blood doji, so certainly holding up a little bit better than Bitcoin on a percentage to percentage basis, just pound for pound here. Minx on the weekly, not yet giving that confirmed continuation long signal. Parallax curling back up to the upside, but still in negative territory here. And WADA being very, very silent as far as volume. Let's go look at the daily here. Excuse me, through the lens of PTP. Take your time. Take your time. Good to see you, white on rice. Yeah, so very similar to Bitcoin, Ethereum would have called a worse long here after breaking super trend at 387.57. I do like this pullback. Volume here has turned positive. The MACD leader is positive. QQE mod is positive, and IFT RSI is positive as well. So this has invalidation on daily bullish down all the way to 332.15. So one could certainly pick this up. However, if one would have used a little bit of nuance yesterday for not longing Bitcoin, again, Ethereum here didn't look too bad. Not overbought. Still kind of coming out of a kind of buying opportunity territory here with CM Laguerre. No completed TD sequential count. Just nothing super crazy here on the daily. But again, moving along just like Bitcoin. So Bitcoin was a good bellwether for that. If I had to, gun to my head, pick up some long exposure, it would be on Ethereum, but I don't have any at the moment. The weekly is interesting as well, just following along with Bitcoin after that sell signal being a little overheated. But again, Ethereum has, I would say, more room right now in the short term to move up than Bitcoin. So Bitcoin becomes an attractive look. USD becomes an attractive look. But again, I haven't taken any action on that yet because it's following along with Bitcoin. So Bitcoin's relatively easy to follow. One last thought intraday on Bitcoin though for the intraday is so very similar to taking that intraday long yesterday. Go ahead and weekly. Let's go down to the hourly. Very similar to taking that intraday long on Bitcoin that we took here yesterday and completed. If I had to take a position here today, right now, looking at this chart, it would be to the upside. Here we're down. Let's go to the daily. And again, the daily is pulling back, so the overall trend is to the downside. So I'd want a daily time frame short on. If we look at the 4 hour, again, we're just coming off of being overheated. But if we go down to the hourly and just look at local time, we did just reach an oversold area after forming a new low. A bounce here is completely natural. You can see what happens after we made the previous new low. We bounced up almost we bounced up about 1.6%. And we've just made that new, and here's the previous low. We bounced up about 1.3%. So again, predicting a 1 to 2% movement to the upside here is an insane, and that's actually the position that we took with this paper trading. Good to see you white on rice and right on dice. I appreciate it, my friend. Holding us down. So yeah, if I were to take an intraday trade, it would be to the upside here, and I would be looking for, I think it was 11,440. I wanted to be more conservative, it would be 11,390. Just really looking for that short pop to the upside, and that would be about that 1%. 11,405. So if you call that at like 11,395, you're shooting a little closer. And I would use probably have to use this for a stop loss for right now, and then tighten it up when price pushed up. And then when it made a new higher low, after price makes a new higher low, you could set your stop loss right here. Move your stop loss up. Yeah, that would be the trade though, intraday. All right, let's go to all right. Discord. Okay, we got news right here. No. What? Here we go. Duh. Sorry, give me 1 second, guys. Here we go. Make this a little bit more attractive to view. No, I don't think I need that. Thank you very much. All right. Oh, sorry about that, guys. But I had this all set up. Ooh, I'm good with that. And I feel like we should put the chat in here. Yeah, it'll be okay. Wally's getting a little bit of what's the word I'm looking for? Withdrawal. It happens, man. It happens. Visuals by Vlad. Yo, brother, waiting for a higher high before going long. So you certainly could wait for that confirmation, wait for a higher high, and then long the higher low would be the more optimal way to do that. I would argue that we've already kind of bounced off the bottom, and we just formed that higher low. So I think the area to long would be, I mean, you could take the trade now. You can take the trade now. It depends on how far you want to zoom down. All right, so Bitcoin's market caps could surpass $1 trillion, says this Fidelity report. Fidelity expects Bitcoin to become the next big alternative investment asset class. A little late to the party here. So obviously yesterday we covered, come on now, what was it? Yesterday we covered, was it not BlackRock? It was like Ridgestone Group utilizing Bitcoin as their reserve assets. When they were making their treasury, and that's like the third such story that we've covered. So it's pretty easy to see what the trend here is. The idea that, I like that Fidelity wants to come out and tell us this, but the reality is this has been something that's been growing and becoming a thing for a while. Larger institutions have certainly realized Bitcoin's investment potential, and so literally, it wasn't always this way with Bitcoin, right? There really was still an idealistic element to this, but I would say at this point in time, Bitcoin is the best possible safe haven asset. The reason why I think is because for physical and intrinsic reasons, it's a better store of value than gold. People talk about perhaps in the long run, gold would exert itself as more dominant. But here's the thing. In the short term, if an EMP goes off and takes out computers, we're not going to reestablish a system of cooperative commerce. I don't think that quickly. I think you're going to see a lot of, I think you're seeing a lot of chaos, particularly with where, at least, speaking as an American, at least to where this country has been dragged through the mud on. So I think you're going to have larger problems. And if you're sitting on a lot of gold, likely it's just going to be taken from you. So Bitcoin does prevent that, as long as you can prevent a $5 wrench attack, which, with Bitcoin, you can hide the knowledge that you have funds, right? If you remember your private key, you can walk around theoretically and tell absolutely nobody that you have BTC. And, Chainalysis is not, is theoretically not going to be as effective when we're using Bitcoin on satellites. So anyways, you have far more security in that sense. And we could have made the argument for many years that, well, unless large institutions adopt Bitcoin, well, it's simply not going to happen. Large institutions have adopted Bitcoin, right? They are, the idea that the public information that we have about the investments that are being made publicly is nothing, nothing compared to what's happening, let's say, behind the scenes, with individuals that are acquiring Bitcoin, with individuals that are accumulating positions with Bitcoin, to people who are consolidating quantities of Bitcoin, to who owns the exchanges, to who, it is a mass exodus, right? You just can't see the movement yet, right? But it's happening. It is a mass exodus to a flight for safety, right? It is a mass exodus and a flight for safety. And Bitcoin has been chosen so far by the market as the safest, newest alternative asset. So key takeaways here. It says that the market capitalization is a drop in the bucket compared with markets that Bitcoin could disrupt, according to Ria Butoria, who's the director of research at Fidelity. And this report estimates that Bitcoin's market capitalization could increase to as much as $2 trillion, nearly a tenfold increase from current levels. By the way, that means a 10x in price, theoretically. So we're talking $100,000 Bitcoin quite easily. And Bitcoin is an exceptional hedge against adverse conditions in traditional finance, making it an attractive investment for institutions. Well, it's an exceptional hedge because it's a self-sovereign form of currency. So in the event that there is a market meltdown or some kind of geopolitical problem, or let's say war, which, by the way, as we move forward over the next 5 to 10 years, probably become more realistic possibilities, and your government has locked you out of the traditional banking system, what do you think, like, even some of these large companies are going to do? They have all of this USD that they can pull on, but if there's geopolitical instability and all of a sudden everybody's been locked out from using the traditional system except for, let's say, central banks and their authorized retailers, their authorized agents, let's say, they start with a wave of commercial banks and move their way down, but essentially everything's under lock and key until you get centralized authority to transact money. Even if you are a large corporation, not every single company is going to want to toe step and lock with that. So you need a way to transfer funds, to transfer value that is censorship resistant, right? Everybody requires this from refugees to large corporations. It is an intrinsically valuable component of money. So the fact that Bitcoin offers that is what makes it an exceptional hedge. Not that it's going to do well against traditional finance. It's just a simply better, it's a better tool to hold at the current moment than the USD because everybody is bailing out the door on the USD. So let's see here. Portfolios containing Bitcoin outperform the competition in every scenario, highlighting the opportunity for institutional investors to take the leap into Bitcoin. So it's either everything I just said, or Fidelity and the larger institutions have just simply bought up enough Bitcoin that they're willing to offer it to the retail masses, and then price just goes down overall, like a big ETF, right? That Vit Saxon pump, boy. This report also covers common arguments about Bitcoin's correlation to the S&P 500, gold, and other traditional asset classes. Regarding correlation, it reads, in the past, Bitcoin has experienced brief periods of elevated correlations with particular assets, including gold and equities, but the relationship breaks down over longer time horizons. Over 5 years, Batoria noted that a long-term correlation between Bitcoin and other asset classes does not exist, saying that Bitcoin's correlation to other assets from January 2015 to September 2020 is an average of 0.11, indicating that there is almost no relationship between the returns of Bitcoin and other assets. So I would like to see another like 10 years of that. But likely in 10 years, we're going to be utilizing Bitcoin as our normal currency for day-to-day transactions. So just interesting to point out. And again, I just continue to kind of impress upon people like how quickly this is happening. And this is really, you know, I'm really, really tired. I'm not tired. I mean, it's cool. People are going to say this. But like every altcoin season, you hear this phrase, once in a lifetime opportunity. Every time these random obscure shit coins pump 1,000%, and it happens once every 2 or 3 years, you know, you hear once in a lifetime opportunity. Now that is true. Like to be able to buy some shit product that just pumps fantastically and you make a lot of money, if you're lucky, that 10 of you that do, then, you know, yes, that was a once in a lifetime opportunity. But I think that people are missing out on the fact that adopting Bitcoin as a currency has been, is still, and will be a once in a lifetime opportunity, right? Like the boat will eventually leave the shore, and you know, in a big fundamental way, as far as like what you can transact down at your grocery store, what you can utilize to provide for your family, what you can use to pay for your house, the way that you securitize your house, you know, the way that you purchase houses, like this, literally everything will change, and it's going to happen fast. It's going to happen a lot faster than people think. And, you know, there are going to be individuals that are sitting there like, well, should I have invested in Bitcoin? How big of a position should I have in Bitcoin? And then they're going to see those opportunities go away with the increasing price of Bitcoin. And so I really want to impress upon people that, you know, there are once in a lifetime opportunities, and then there are paradigm shifts, right? And those paradigm shifts are once in a generation opportunity. This is such a paradigm shift. In more local, recent, and degenerate news, YFI creator Andre Crony is at it again. An investor losing 940 Ethereum worth about $360,000 overnight with YFI's newest experiment. So, long story short, the creator of Yearn Finance, if you guys remember him, we spoke just yesterday about this as the guy who gave the crypto Twitter Blue Kirby about $400,000 worth of his tokens for his hard work shilling this season's infamous YFI token. Well, Andrew Crony created another, quote, valueless token for an experimental protocol. So traders really rushed into this in hopes of serious gains, and several did, but just about everybody just got burned. So if you do not recall, YFI started out as an experiment explicitly branded as being valueless. But of course, it did shoot up to eye-watering heights of $40,000 per token at the height of its insanity. So Mr. Andrew here, he's the guy behind this successful crypto experiment, or unsuccessful, depending on whether you made or lost money, deployed another experimental contract yesterday. And that is called LBI. Here's the chart, right? So I just want to, it would have been funnier if I pulled this up. You guys would be like, I got to buy into that right now. So excitedly, of course, a lot of people bought into this token, despite Crony's warnings that this was merely his personal experiment into a rebasing token. And of course, things ended predictably. One investor in particular put in 1,000 Ethereum into the token, and it's now down over 90%. This all happened very quickly. So, you know, I do see one comment here. I think the thought here is like, well, this comes down to semantics and ethics, right? So is it unacceptable? Is it immoral to deploy experimental contracts on the mainnet because you know that investors are going to race in to get what they can because they know it's going to pump because of the name on the project or where it's being listed? You know, because it abrogates responsibility if you just kind of put up that disclaimer narrative like, well, listen, this is experimental. You totally shouldn't buy this. This is not investment advice. I'm not not a financial advisor. So you kind of have the difference between like the code is law and the word is law people. Like this takes me back to the Ethereum Classic split where you had ardent code is law individuals that said, listen, when Ethereum had the DAO hack, they said that sucks that people lost their money. It is what it is. Code is law. We'll fix the code so the product will be better in the future, but we don't no rollbacksies. And the Ethereum Foundation disagreed and they said, no, this is too much of a financial hit. So we're going to roll back the chain because we believe in backsies. And now we have Ethereum Classic, which is going to stay proof of work. And we have Ethereum, which is transitioning to proof of stake. So it'll be interesting to see how that interface plays out. But of course, I've already said that the Ethereum Foundation is going to push the show and the Ethereum Classic chain has already been compromised. So with the new miners. So who's calling me now? Call from potential spam. Thank you. 70 degrees, slightly humid. So, this is kind of an interesting, thought on this. So anyway, so here's the LBI token. It was, let's see here, liquidity backed income, I think. He says, inspired by protocols like Ample, YAM, Uni, and SNX, I started playing around with a few new economic concepts. I ended up with a liquidity-based inflationary token that can offset impermanent loss via liquid governance. The goal of the project would be to generate as many trading fees as possible and offset IL as much as possible. So anyways, LBI launched here at not 381 and ran all the way up just so you guys, get some nice scale here. Here's the launch. It did run up almost 1,800% before collapsing. So let's see, this happened yesterday at noon and ran up for about 4 hours. So yesterday at noon to about 4 p.m. yesterday, and then just collapsed between 4:15 and let's see here, about 5 p.m. So about an hour collapse and price sidling sideways. So let's take a brief pause here and hop over to the just chatting screen. Get your guys' thoughts on all of that. Why can I see the lower third? Because they did appear. Very, very interesting. I don't think those look very good there. Let's get rid of those. Sorry about that. So, gbu.run/brave. GBU proudly supports and promotes Brave browser. David Rice says, been hanging in the doghouse. What's up with China? Been hearing about something, but no one says what, though. Well, I mean, the narrative is that China will step in and pick the desiccated husk of America up after the civil turmoil and warfare. Blue Box wants to short Theta Bitcoin margin on OKX, but it doesn't have any Theta to borrow. What's the best way to get into a short when for some reason it can't be borrowed? A synthetic contract? Is there any place where we can borrow Theta? I don't think so. What about finance? You could get the, you know what you could do is you could actually go over to FTX and get the 3x short Theta network token. You could buy Theta Bear. Yep, you could. Yeah. And then Alex saying, yeah, you could just do the perp contract on FTX as well. Here's the chart. If you wanted to buy the if you just wanted to buy the 3x Theta Network token, here's the daily. Looking pretty decent for a reversal. Completed 9 count, bottom feeder over here, pushing expecting price up to 18, which would be about a 75 to 80% trade. But just keep in mind those tokens rebalance. So you want to be sure you know what you're doing. And for something a little bit more unnatural, yeah, I would be there with Alex and switch over to the Theta perp on trading on FTX, the Theta perp contract. 3, 4, 5, 6, and we can see price nice and rounding out here. The old alley-oop to the downside. Let's see here, nothing too indicative on the daily. This ISIS spot sell signal over here. Tell you what, I think I'm going to increase that. I think I'm going to drop that down to about 2. Yeah, just about everything flipping negative here on PTP. We can see OBV oscillator negative. We can see MACD leader negative. We can see QQE trending to the downside. IFTRSI giving the exit signal for longs on this candle right here. After calling for it here. Nice little wave right there. Yeah, that's a good, that's good. That would be the best bet for me. JG says, you mean when we had a meltdown in March and Bitcoin dropped more than any other asset class yet, right? Yeah, I mean, it certainly wouldn't, you know, we did have a meltdown in March, and here we are in November, and look where price is. Right back up. That's pretty quick. Look at the S&P 500. The S&P 500 dropped significantly as well. I wouldn't put too much import if what you meant was it's a safe store of value because the price will remain the same or relatively level. No, I would certainly not try to make that claim. I would say that if you purchase Bitcoin and wait patiently, eventually your purchasing power will be equivalent to what you put in. And it will be unconfiscatable, it will be non-fungible, it will be censorship resistant in a way that you can put your money in US dollars in the bank, and that inflation and monetary printing is going to reduce the value over time, but you still feel relatively safe. But what I'm telling you, or what I believe, is that we're going to be moving into an era where your money is not going to be relatively safe in the bank. We're going to have questions of how can I access this? When can I access this? Whose permission do I need to access this? Am I able to send the money here? Can I pull the money out here? Oh, cash is outlawed now. Okay, my electronic bank card got deactivated because I decided to try and buy crypto through crypto.com on my mobile app. Now I have to go through a week-long process of getting my card unlocked. Meanwhile, I have to use this emergency stamp from my local bank, which is actually tied into the central. Do you see where I'm getting with this? This is not dystopian. This is already the way systems are being set up. And Bitcoin has been from day one and still is today as simple as boop, nobody can stop you. So that gives it massive value. Large institutional companies would not be buying into Bitcoin if they were worried about price swings. And so as a long-term investor in Bitcoin, I would not be worried about price swings. GBU says, what if? Sitting around the campfire with your boys the other day, and Wally said, what if there was a groundswell or tweet storm of Bitcoin core developers deciding to adopt 42 million Bitcoin instead of 21 million to cut price, increase adoption, and split the stock? Well, then it would likely happen. The idea that, if the developers, Bitcoin is divided into a trifecta of 3 ruling parties. Okay, you have the miners, who have to be willing to upgrade their node to any new Bitcoin software client, BTC Core client. Those who are running BTC Core. So any consensus, any changes to the consensus protocol need to be adopted by the miners, right? So the developers can push a system update, but if the miners don't adopt it, then the chain that's going to be mined when you transact BTC is going to be the chain that the miners are mining, right? Based on the longest chain, longest TX history. So you've got miners who have to upgrade the software, the developers who have to agree and push out the software in a consistent fashion. and then the users who have to use the clients who have to be willing to utilize that. Now, I would say, unfortunately, that this is the weakest link in the Bitcoin trifecta, but users can and have and will have a huge impact on what actually gets pushed out, because if they're not willing to adopt a new feature or client, then they're going to move somewhere else. So there's a very laissez-faire capitalism aspect to all of this that makes it extremely efficient to make a usable system. This is why Bitcoin works right now today, saying that it has worked right now today for the last 10 years. Because the market is designed, let's say the marketplace around Bitcoin development is designed to only put out what users want and what miners will adopt, right? So, but if there was a groundswell of support to fork the code, you would have to fork the code to change the 21 million Bitcoin to 42 million Bitcoin. And that was desired, then that's what would happen. And we wouldn't have BTC Core anymore, or the original BTC coin, even though theoretically the chain has been hard forked before. So we don't even really have the original BTC anymore, but that's neither here nor there. So that's what would happen. I mean, you would be talking about the same thing that happened with Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin Core. What if Bitcoin whales contributed to world wealth, philanthropy, finding cures to diseases, etc., except for lining their own pockets? What makes you think that they don't? And, also there is an implication there that one has to accept when you just put that statement out there that states that those are, so, you're creating kind of a simplified element where individuals who have theoretical wealth in Bitcoin that they can transact to USD or transact somewhere else, if they were to just take money and put it into these pockets or buckets, that the world would be a better place. And I would say that there's no empirical evidence that that's true. There's no empirical evidence that just increasing the quantity of money available for philanthropic efforts actually increases the standard of living on Earth. Now, I'm not going to die on the hill that it's not. I'm not stating that. I'm just saying that the way that sentence is structured as a jab with a right hook, right? And the right hook is, if you block the jab, right? If you block the jab by saying, by commenting basically on that statement, you're accepting the supposition that this idea structure that you had in your brain and you put your fingers to keyboard to try to present, which is actually like not indicative of how it would play out if this was to theoretically happen in the real world, because then we would have to talk logistics. Like, okay, what companies get the money? What institutions get the money? What does contributing to world wealth mean? What does contributing to philanthropy mean? What philanthropic efforts exactly, in what countries, with what quantity of money? How do we divvy the money up? Who do we hire as the manager? Who's tacking in the shells? What company do we get to run the clean water, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? Finding cures to diseases, et cetera. So what exactly does that mean? Does that mean giving money to the World Health Organization or the CDC, or does that mean investing in private companies to develop vaccines and cures of their own, for example, right? Or to advance modern medicine kind of the capitalistic way. I would certainly argue that we have good empirical evidence that the free market has created such a revolution in medicine and science over the last 100 years that the idea that adopting a socialistic approach and thinking that we're going to get better results by governments or some centralized institution is going to do a better job of increasing the standard of living via health and medicine across the world through centralized management of the money and who gets what and what are we going to develop and who does this, as opposed to the free market, which is how we do it now, particularly, well, in the West anyways. I would say that there's good empirical evidence that that's probably not the case, and that we certainly can see that we have an absolute magnificent explosion of access to goods and services, new medicines, cures for diseases, vaccines, anything you could possibly imagine as a direct result of capitalism in the free market. So, and capitalism in the free market would designate that most likely out of all those three things, the best thing that could happen for the world is if Bitcoin whales were to take their money and to invest in biotech, right? GBU Wally says, Rising Red Candles, what's the name for that? It's called Get Out, Bud, while you still can. Me in the edutainment, education and entertainment, edutation. I've heard edutainment. I like that a little bit better, yeah. Wowza. Thoughts on Raven USD? Also, what's up with Crow since MCO is gone? Well, I hold Crow because, you know, I had to get that card. You know what I mean? Thoughts on Raven USD? Oh, that's a chart that just seems to know how to go down right now, and I like Raven. I was expecting kind of a ground shift. Listen, I still kind of am. I'm expecting a good amount of miners to switch over to things like Raven when they have their GPUs and they don't have anything left to do with it. But Ethereum mining isn't going to fizzle out just like that. So, it is 12:55. So let's comment here on Raven. Let's start off with the weekly here. And again, this is gonna. So look where Raven is right here. So I'll point out the positive things. Positive things are, here's the low of the market as we've been able to establish here. It's about 0.9 of a cent, right? And we've had the last time we wicked down to this area back in March for the March meltdown, we did rally pretty significantly along with the rest of the market, but not in a market structure changing way. We rallied about 200%, but you can see here just another lower high and a weekly long trend of lower highs, getting back to that epic Valhalla. If you look at a lot of DeFi coins in a couple of years, they'll look just like this, all right? You'll see that initial rush to the upside and then just... Now, one thing that I do like to see here, that I would like to see as a rounded bottom, here's this kind of more V-shaped, and then if we got a nice rounded bottom here, this would be that long-term kind of weekly time frame, Adam and Eve pattern that I like to see when altcoins really turn around. But again, it's going to take 4 to 6 months for it to really complete that pattern, which makes Ravencoin an accumulation area right now and holding for the next rally to the upside. Keep in mind, each rally has been that's a little over 100%. That was rally 1, and then about 200% the previous kind of post-March meltdown rally. So, and we're not even going to look at the first rally there. So I like Raven USD insofar as it's really, really close to the lowest price it's ever been. Coming off that, maybe just about 25%. And Minx is oversold here on the weekly. Parallax is oversold here on the weekly. Now, we are obviously in a downtrend, so this is a reversal accumulation buy. And kind of narrowing down to the daily here. Let's see, we did complete a perfected 9 count. We're just coming off of ISIS spot being oversold. And of course, we have bullish divergence. So we have drive, 3 drives. The kind of push on that 3 drives was pretty lame. We want to see a higher high after a 3 drives pattern. We seem to be drooping down here. I would see if we bottom out here, and then if we start pushing up, I would be okay with buying into strength on Ravencoin. But again, remember that I think Bitcoin dominance is going to be crushing these things. So I think that it's going to be better to just buy Bitcoin over the next 4 to 6 months potentially, unless all else changes. But again, that doesn't mean that accumulating a position and being willing to hold on to it for a year or 2 years until it moves to the upside for the next isn't a bad idea. And Ravencoin's certainly in that area, along with a lot of other major alts, my friend. As far as what's going on with Crow, I don't know what is going on with Crow. I would assume that Crypto.com has a high incentive to keep this baby up, but unfortunately, you can't move the market by yourself. So let's check out the price on Bittrex. Seems to have done nothing, so I want to get some more historicity. Hit BTC, Bittrex, OKEX. Yeah, OKEX won't do me wrong. So Crow, fantastic, magnifico pump, and it's really on the way down, unfortunately. So I think that anybody that wants to get into Crow, anything on Crypto.com, after they've had this big, huge marketing pump scheme, there's likely going to be a lot of profit taking. So if you're holding on to Crow as an investment, if you're holding on to Crow, or if you're looking to buy Crow, and we've said this for a few months now, if you're looking to buy Crow or MCO before that, I think that you're going to have the opportunity to just dollar cost average in here as we dip down here in price, because there is a fundamental use case in holding Crow to get access to the sweet rewards, and you could like add them all up, but whether it's actually financially worth it. Let's see here. FOREX channel says, hey, Justin, would you look at AG&C for me again? You called that 1450 rather well. Thank you very much. Would like to know what you see in it for now. I absolutely will. Johnny's saying, hey, Chief, the bottom feeder sheets are now completely up to date. Looking tasty, stonking strategy. Thank you very much, man. I'm excited about that. All right, guys, I'm going to take a quick break. When we come back from the break, am I going to take a break, or am I just going to X out here? Let's see. It's been about an hour show. Let's see here. What do you guys want to talk about? That's about all I got. And I do want to get, yeah, you know what? I want to work on those bottom feeder sheets. So that's good. So I think this is just probably a good place to call it for today. It's been a nice, good hour long show. let's look at that AGNC and then we'll bounce out, guys. All right. All right, so let's take a look at AGNC on the weekly. All right, this looks like a lot of stocks, except for kind of the lack of the parabolic move to the downside. Here is that March meltdown, kind of really started in February. This one really proceeded, didn't it? AGNC Investment Corp. And what do we got? Just kind of weak, trending to the upside. Price rallied about 60%. We've got that perfected 9 on the weekly with falling volume. Let's take a look at that OBV oscillator. I want to look at PTP on this thing. OBV oscillator doing? So increasing but taking big chunks to the downside. Later curling down. IFTRSI about to give the exit on this. Yeah, I would. God, man. All right, so first things first. Weekly time frame. Consolidation. Right. So we're in a down. We were in a downtrend. We see our EMAs leveling out right now and actually curling to the upside here on the weekly time frame. Minx recovering from being drastically oversold. Paralox recovering from being drastically oversold. I'd say we're relatively neutral right now. We have the 55 weekly EMA as resistance overhead and the 21 acting as support down below. So again, we see contraction. What follows? Periods of low volatility, periods of high volatility. I'd like to see a break of that 1466 to see some, to buy into a sign of strength. And overall, I would expect to see consolidation here between 1388 and 1466 until one of these sides breaks. Probably the safer position to have right now in the current economic climate is a short or not just to be in this asset whatsoever, because this doesn't look like a juicy short to me. And unlike crypto, you don't actually hold your equity in the stock, so there's no real reason to hedge or short like that. So I don't really see any attractive setup here on the weekly. I just see broad consolidation, and I would like to see a sign of strength or volume push one way or the other. Of course, you can always take your bet, but there are issues with that. Yeah, again, right here in the middle on ISA spot here on the daily. Our TDST line's up at 1478, so TD sequential would like to see that break. Daily PTP would be suggesting long trades until we break 1371, but we don't have any objective signals right now to take any positions. Yeah, so I would be, and we can see we're just right in those bands. We have had the daily 1355 crossover right here, which really led to a good uptrend. And on the daily, we can see resistance here between the 200 EMA and the 55. So low, kind of zooming in 1433 and 1395 areas to break. I really wouldn't want to trade this, my friend, right now. If I had to have a bias on this, I would be looking for the failure based on the current climate conditions. But what I would want to see to take along is I would want to see the daily close above 1466 to be conservative, or 1433 to be aggressive, and try to play the breakout trade that way, which either could mean market buying immediately or waiting until price comes back on a pullback. But we're just right in the middle on everything. Smiles J said, thoughts on YFI and Compound. I don't have any strong thoughts on Compound. As far as YFI goes, just earlier I covered LBI and Andrew Crony's earlier one, and I did look at the YFI token. It looks like it only knows how to go down. Kimozabi says, opinion on recent news of corporations acquiring Bitcoin on their balance sheet as being an advertisement for distribution range here. I mean, that would certainly, so if we're assuming that this is a distribution range price for Bitcoin, then that's just really going hand in hand with my long-term analysis. That what we do have here is going to be a swing failure pattern, a failure to make a new high, and we can see just volatility and price moving down as price is being sold into. Overall, I don't really feel that that's the case. I think it's as simple as more entities are buying Bitcoin here, and liquidity is switching over. And over the next 4 to 6 months, I think Bitcoin's going to perform quite well. Thank you, Kimozabi. Great show as always. Perfect call on Bitcoin to 11,500. I appreciate that, man. Again, just keep you guys updated on the paper trades that I took today. Right now, just 4 positions, the euro pound to the buy side. XMR XBT, it wouldn't let me take XMR XBT over on Kraken with the paper trading engine here on TradingView. So this is XMR USD on Kraken. It's just for purposes. Rep USD took to the long side. We had to complete it, and KNC USD, which is a theoretical position for, these are all theoretical positions, but for GBU Wally, seeing how those 2 positions play out. And the Bitcoin trade yesterday was successful. And if we do, I'm not going to put it on today, but that Bitcoin position, again, I would be taking price to the upside intraday. But let me actually zoom in on this so we can get kind of tight on these metrics. Right here. Yeah, we got bottom feeder on the 15-minute, but here's what I would do. Let's go to the hourly. Yeah, I could certainly see a position here. Let's find a decent stop loss. It sucks that we haven't put in that really strong high, higher high yet. So yeah, I kind of like what the other individual was saying. If you wanted to wait for confirmation on this, waiting for a higher high and then buying the higher low would be a little bit better. We've made this initial high, but we're just kind of drooping here. And if we make a lower low, that would kind of invalidate. But assuming we can hold up above 11,323, I'd be open to a position putting that stop loss about down here at 11,290. Be safe. And so, and again, this isn't the most attractive position because I'd only be shooting for 11,390 on the first TP and 11,440 on the second. So I have less confidence in this intraday call than yesterday, but that's the position I would want to trade with my algo. All right, and that brings us here. All right, thank you guys so much for joining me for another episode of Breaking Bitcoin Market Update. I've been your host, Justin Wise. Let's find, I think I got it over here somewhere. Here we go. All right. All right, prepare yourselves. All right, so if you want to trade, so if you guys want to support the show, make sure to smash the thumbs up button. Leave a comment down below if you have any questions, thoughts, things you'd like us to cover. Make sure to join us in the Discord, discord.krakencryptocurrency.com, and you can follow us on the other socials, which will be down in the description below. If you guys want to trade on the exchange that we trade on, I recommend Bybit, bybit.krakencryptocurrency.com to get the sign-up bonus. The last thing you want is a wake-up horror story email from your exchange explaining their most recent exploit and how your deposits may have been affected. No, thank you. If you guys care about cryptocurrency and privacy, make sure to check out our friends at Spectre Security, working hard to put the power of your data back in your hands. You can take advantage of all their products and services. I highly recommend their online academy to boost your security and knowledge, or their one-on-one consultation to actually improve the way that you have your system set up. You can visit Spectre, spectre.krakencryptocurrency.com to view everything that they got. Download their wallet app for free. Yes, they got a crypto as well. Other than that, we'll be back tomorrow at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time for more memes, more charts, more stuff, more me. Nice mouse pad. Yeah, it's the Corsair. I love it, man. Good, good. The only thing I don't like about these is that the stitching can get a little I had the Razer Goliathus and I returned it for that same thing. But have I ever been scared out of a trade? Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Here's the thing. The quantity of times I've been scared out of a trade are generally directly proportional to how much I look at the trade after I've put it on and how long I took to consider the position before I put it on. The best trade is when you look at a chart, you look at your strategy and you say yes or no. That's simple. You have to sit there and you're like, well, if we look at the weekly and if we look at the 2-day, if we look at the 3-day over here, didn't that thing look like a little bobble thing? Like anytime I've had that kind of thinking in a trade and it wasn't just, okay, Minx is oversold, Parallax is crossed into the green territory, we're below the Ichimoku cloud, and I see a bearish engulfing candle. Go. All right, things like that. When it is very clear and objective, then the trading, it's easy to put the position on and it's easy to not worry about the position. Win or fail, it was your strategy, right? It has nothing to do with your analysis, right? Anytime that I have a position that's like, well, this is theoretical and maybe this could happen, but if we do this, and then after the trade, I kind of look at it and I'm like, well, I wanted to see this in validation, and if we make a higher, the thing over here, then it's just constant agony, man. So again, the best traders trade impassively. They don't have to think about a position. This is why generally when you see me look through a chart, I'm like, yes, 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 no, no, yes, yes, no, 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 no. You know, that's the way it should be. The way it should be. And I remember Alex calling that Uniswap short quite well. So Steph Shang, thank you so much for joining us, my friend. I highly appreciate it. And Azriel, thank you for recommending the mouse pad. You guys, what we got here? Thoughts? Oh my god. We got thoughts on Tesla. Come on there, Boris. Let's see here. Breaking out of not a pattern trader, but it does seem to be breaking out of a symmetrical triangle thing. If you're looking for your kids, your dad did a portal thing. Okay. Tesla trading to the upside pretty strongly here on the weekly. Support down on the 21 EMA, 338.37. I don't like breakout trades, so I wouldn't want to push this to the upside. Let's go to the daily. Let's see here. Yeah, I can see that kind of symmetrical kind of triangle setup here. Don't like breakout trades. This is a pretty nice sign of strength. We would have gotten the continuation long signal over here with Minx anyways. Let's see here. And that rising explosion level from Wada Tars right there, and Parallax confirmation right there as well. Yeah, this is not really like the trade setup that I like, but if you did want to take the breakout trade, I would certainly be wary of throwback all the way back to about 426. And if you go below 426, then I would close the position and try to pick it up at 387 on that pullback to the 55 HEMA. If I wanted to take it right now, 487, 510, and 533 would be good TPs. 430 is where it's suggesting invalidation as well, so kind of below the previous high. Again, just the problem with breakout trades is that if price does pull back here and it just doesn't immediately fly to the upside, then you're always kind of wondering like, okay, well, is it throwback? Should I add to my position on this pullback? And as long as you know the answers to those questions ahead of time, I think it'll be all right. Mirko says, where will Bitcoin be by the end of the year? I don't really know. Ideally, like right where it's at right now, meaning that we've actually either had a pump and prices return to normality, and we've established around 10K is the new norm, which would be great. 10K is the new norm would be so utterly fantastic for price action moving forward that you guys have no idea. 10K as the new floor, please. I will take that over a pump to 30K overnight right now. I will take 10K as the new Bitcoin floor for the next decade over a 250x altcoin shitcoin pump. Right now, I will take that all day because that means fantastic things for me personally, for my finances, and for pretty much my entire family and friend circle moving forward, and really good things for the industry and space as a whole. So hopefully right where we're at. All right, guys, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Be absolutely excellent to one another. We're all in this together. Trade safely, guys.